2457, 2458, 2459, 2460, 2461, excuse me, clerk. This is 2461, and then this is 2562. What's going on? We are 2461. The next page should be 2462, but this is written 2562. Is that a typo? Okay. No, this is 2461. Okay. Oh, that what you have too? So 24, oh shit, this is the same thing now. Yeah, this 25, huh? It should be 24. 46. Okay, it should be 2462. Clerk, please note, Secretariat note, 2462. 2463. 2464, 2465, 2466, 2467, 2468, 2469, 2470, 2471, 2472, 2473, 2474, 2475, 2476, 2477, 2478, 2479, 2480, 2481, 2482, 2483, 2484, 2485, 2486, 2487, 2488, 2489, 2490, 2491, 2492, 2493, 2494, 2495, 2496, 2497, 2498, 2499, 2500, 2501, 2502, 2503, 2504, 2505, 2506, 2507, 2508, 2509, 2510, 2511, 2512, 2513, 2514, 2515, 2516, 2517, 2518, 2519, 2520, 2521, 2522, 2523, 2524, 2525, 2526, 2527, 2528, 2529, 2530, 2531, 2532, 2533, 2534, 2535, 2536, 2537, 2538, 2539, 2540, 2541, 2542, 2543, 2544, 2545, 2546, 2547, 2548, 2549, 2550, 2551, 2552, 2553, 2554, 2555, 2556, 2557, 2558, 2559, 2560, 2561, 2562, 2563, 2564, 2565, 2566, 2567, 2568, 2569, 2570, 2571, 2572, 2573, 2574, 2575, 2576, 2577, 2578, 2579, 2580, 2581, 2582, 2583, 2584, 2585, 2586, 2587, 2588, 2589, 2590, 2591, 2592, 2593, 2593, that can be the end now. Then 2594. Senator Matu Urohide. It is so messed up. Matu Urohide, please, yes.
Mr. President, thank you very much. I'm Senator Matthew Urogide. I represent Edo South Central District. Mr. President, I rise to move that the votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 13 December 2022 be adopted by the Senate. I so move.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Ibrahim Abdullahi Dambaba. I rise to second the motion as moved by Senator Matthew Origide.
Thank you. Those in favor that the votes and proceedings of Tuesday, the 13th day of December 2022 be adopted, say aye. Aye. And those against say nay. The ayes have it. The votes and proceedings of Tuesday, the 13th day of December 2022 is hereby approved and adopted. Leader of the Senate. Point of order, Senator Sikibo.
Mr. Senior President, I'm Senator George Thompson Sekibo. I represent the Rivers Central District. Order 10, 11, 20, 21, and 22.
Petitions.
Hello? Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name remains Senator Yoaki Elure, representing Ondo Central, Mr. President. Presentation of petitions not laid but referred to the Committee on Ethics from the Office of the President of the Senate. The Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petitions, in line with Order 41 and 3, wishes to present to the Senate some petitions yet to be laid from the Office of the President of the Senate. In order to officially place the petition in public domain to the floor of the Senate, and for the votes and proceeding to capture the approval for referral. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, please find below a summary of petitions received from the Office of the President of the Senate for ease of reference. 1. Petition from Are Oladotun Hassan against Mrs. Stella Ekuugene Okotete, the Executive Director of Nexim Bank. Subject matter of the petition: public complaint against criminal conspiracy on implemented 2019 Senate resolution on removal recommendation, violation of central bank circular to all banks and financial institutions, revised assessment criteria for approved persons regime for financial institutions, reference FPR/DIR/CIR/GEN/05/014, dated 15 October 2015, and regulations on appointment of heads of financial institutions, serial fraudulent misrepresentations on prerequisite qualification and deceitful withholding of CBN statutory position, obligations and duties as the Executive Director of Nigerian Export-Import Bank, Nexim, against Stella Ekuugene Okotete, in view of a lack of educational academic prerequisite and 18 years banking service years of experience, non-professional technocratic competence, and ongoing massive corruption at the Nexim Bank. Hence, our clarion call for her immediate replacement. 2. Petition from Dr. Cynthia Nwakobi against Chief Jim Nwobodo and 2 others. An appeal to the President of the Senate and the Senate Committee on Ethics to have expedited recovery of $132,500,000 defrauded by Jim Nwobodo, by Patricia Nwobodo, and Barrister Eli Ugu, who illegally sold a community land under litigation in Enugu, High Court case number E/471/219. Number 3, petition from Pastor Ezekiel A. Odeyemi of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Assistant General Overseer, Northern Nigeria, and Pastor in charge of Region 10, against the Honorable Minister of FCT and Director of Lands of FCT. A petition for your urgent intervention for a review and reversal of the erroneous reallocation of plot 575, Kukuwaba District, Abuja, originally meant for Christian Convention and Revival Grant to a Muslim organization, or the reallocation of a suitable alternative land within the city gate to the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Abuja. 4, Mr. President, Garuba Musa of Transparent Extractive Sector Operators Initiative against the Honorable Minister of Health and the Acting Chief Medical Director of National Hospital, Abuja. Subject matter of the petition: need to investigate allegation of fraud, manipulations, nepotism, discrimination, and flagrant violation of laws of Federal Republic of Nigeria by the Honorable Minister of Health for his deliberate action for not forwarding the list of selected candidates by the board of the National Hospital to Mr. President for approval on several occasions for the recruitment of the Chief Medical Director of the National Hospital Abuja, a call for Senate investigation for compliance. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, to the best of my knowledge, none of the above petitioner is seeking judicial remedy. I therefore move, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, to seek the indulgence of the Senate of Federal Republic to lay the above petition before the Senate for official referral to the committee for further legislative action. I so move, Mr. President.
How many petitions do you have? 4? Okay, is there any of these with pending litigation?
No, Mr. President.
Okay, in the absence of any pending litigation, you may proceed to listen before the Senate. Thank you. All 4 petitions are referred to the Committee on Ethics and Privileges. You have to report back within 2 weeks. Leader of the Senate. Point of order, Senator Sekibo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Senator George Thompson Sekibo. I represent the Rivers Central District. My dear colleagues, I'm coming out of the 10, 11, 20A, 21, and 22.
You may read, please.
Order 10. Any senator may rise at any time to speak upon a matter of privilege, suddenly arising, and he shall be prepared to move without notice a motion declaring that a contempt or breach of privilege has been committed, or referring the matter to the Committee on Ethics and Privileges. But if the matter is raised in Committee of the whole Senate, the chairman shall leave the chair to report progress. 11, when a matter of privilege at any time arises, the President shall, until the matter is disposed of, or unless the debate on the motion thereon is adjourned, suspend the consideration and decision of every other question, provided that precedence over other business shall not be given to any motion if, in the opinion of the President of the Senate, a prima facie case of breach of privilege has not been made out, or the matter has not been raised at the earliest opportunity. Chapter 6, Duties and Functions of Officers of the Senate, Order 20. 20A is under Duties and Functions of Officers of the Senate. A, the President of the Senate shall preside as sitting of the Senate. That is A. I'm going to 21. 21. A. 21. In the absence of the President of the Senate, the Deputy President of the Senate shall perform all the duties and functions of the President of the Senate. 22. In the absence of the President of the Senate and Deputy President of the Senate, such senator as the Senate may elect for the purpose shall preside. Such senator shall be known as President pro tempore. Mr. President, I come with these orders to explain a fitting because we are living history. I'm not doing it in bad faith. Thank God that we are able to arrive here at after 12 for us to sit You are a human being. You are using vehicle and other things. ASP is not there. Maybe he has an official engagement. You are also coming from maybe under official engagement. The senators are not supposed to come here and then just wait. Well, we don't know the fate whether you are around between us here and you are not. I think that next time, if you know that you are in another third corner, you can just delegate power to the leader of the Senate. He can act as the pro tempore Senate president. And then you do your business where you are doing. You finish and come back. Rather than many of us just to hang around and waiting until this long time. I'm saying this one because I think that we should not set a precedent. Maybe another time, if we don't know this one clearly, maybe another precedent will be set. I'm not moving emotion. I'm not doing anything damaging. But I think that we should know that whenever two of you are very engaged, that other senior officers of the Senate, you can permit them, at least for one, to enjoy that red chair, and then take the vote and proceeding. And in the event you come to meet, they can step down for you, and you take over. Thank you very much, Mr. Senate President.
Thank you, Senator Sikibo. You came under Order 10, 11, amongst others. Under Order 11, as you just read that, it says, if in the opinion of the President of the Senate, a prima facie case of breach of your privilege has been made, it is the opinion of the President of the Senate that a prima facie case has not been made. I therefore rule out of order. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the first business of the day is the presentation of an executive bill standing in my name in the Code of Conduct Bureau and the Tribunal Bill 2022 SB 1072. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Code of Conduct Bureau and Tribunal Bill 2022, SB 1072, first reading.
Code of Conduct Bureau and Tribunal Bill 2022, SB 1072, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the second business of the day is the presentation of the House Bill standing in my name on the Chartered Institute of Auctioneers of Nigeria Bill 2022, HB 702. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Chartered Institute of Auctioneers of Nigeria Bill 2022, HB 702, first reading.
Chartered Institute of Auctioneers of Nigeria Bill 2022, HB 702, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the third business of the day is the presentation of a House Bill standing in my name on the Nigerian Institute of Leather and the Science Technology Bill 2022, HB 444. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Nigerian Institute of Leather and Science Technology Bill 2022, HB 444, first reading.
Nigerian Institute of Leather and Science Technology Bill 2022, HB 444, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the fourth business of the day is the presentation of a House Bill standing in my name on the Federal College of Health and Management Science, AMAIBO, Establishment Bill 2022, HB 1420. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal College of Health and Management Sciences, AMAIBO Establishment Bill 2022, HB 1420, first reading.
Federal College of Health Sciences, AMAIBO Establishment Bill 2022, HB 1420, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the fifth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of Senator Ifeanyi Oba on the Federal Orthopedic Hospital, Newe Establishment Bill 2022, SB 1083. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal Orthopedic Hospital Newe Establishment Bill 2022, SB 1083, first reading.
Federal Orthopedic Hospital Newe Establishment Bill 2022, SB 1083, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Order.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the first order of the day is a motion standing my name on the executive communication from Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief, on the transmission of the FGN Power Company budget for 2022 in accordance with the Section 81 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. Distinguished senators, you will recall that the request from Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief, on the transmission of the FGN Power Company budget for 2022 was read on Tuesday, 13th December, 2022. Mr. President, with your permission, I wish to move that the request be referred to the relevant committee for the legislative action. I so move.
Minority Leader.
I rise to second the motion as moved by the leader. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The communication is referred to the Committee on Power. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the second order of the day is a motion standing on my name on the recommittal of the Federal College of Education, Motunbiu, Taraba State, Establishment Bill 2022. Mr. President, with your permission, I wish to move the motion.
You may proceed.
The Senate recalls that the Federal College of Education, Motunbiu, Taraba State Establishment Bill 2022 was passed by the National Assembly and was transmitted to the President for accept. Observes that some fundamental issues which require fresh legislative action by both chambers of the National Assembly emerged after a critical analysis of the bill by Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief. Aware that a technical committee of the Senate and the House of Representatives and Directorate of Legal Services met and worked on the bill, relying on Order 1 subsection B and Order 52 subsection 6 of the Senate Standing Order 2022 as amended, accordingly resolves to resign its decision on the bill as passed and recommit same to the Committee of the Whole for reconsideration and passage. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, I rise to second the motion as moved by the leader. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Sense of any contribution? Committee of the Whole?
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate resolve into Committee of the Whole to consider the report. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second that the Senate resolve into the Committee of Whole to deliberate on the motion before us. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Okay, here we have this is a report on Federal College of Education, Mutum, BU, Taraba State, Establishment Bill 2022. The long title is on page 1. Those in favor that the long title as contained page 1 of the bill, forms part of the bill, say aye. And those against say nay. The ayes have it. We have a total number of 25 clauses on the bill. Those in favor that clauses 1 form part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clauses 2, 3, 4, and 5 form part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clauses 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 form part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clauses 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 form part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clauses 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 form part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clauses 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25 form part of the bill, say aye. And those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the interpretation clause, which is clause 24, as contained on page 14, form part of the bill, say aye. And those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the short title of the bill as contained in clause 25 on page 15 form part of this bill, say aye. And those against say nay. The ayes have it. The schedule 1 schedule is on page 15. Those in favor that the 1 schedule on page 15 form part of the bill, say aye. And those against say nay. The ayes have it. The explanatory memorandum is on page 16. Those in favor that the explanatory memorandum on page 16 form part of this bill, say aye. And those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate revert to plenary for the chair to report progress. I so move.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise to second the motion that the chair that we reconvene to plenary for the chair to report progress. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate, in the Committee of the Whole, consider the Federal College of Education, Mutum BU, Taraba State Establishment Bill 2022 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended. Clauses 1 to 23 as recommended. Interpretation, clause 24 as recommended. Short title, clause 25 as recommended. Schedules 1 as recommended. Explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I now move that the bill be read the third time. I so move.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes.
I rise to second the motion as moved by the leader. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal College of Education, Mutumbiu, Taraba State, and for related matters 2022, third reading.
A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal College of Education, Mutumbiu, Taraba State, and for related matters. The bill is read the third time and passed into law. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the third order of the day is the second reading of an executive bill standing in my name on the National Information Technology Development Agency Act, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2022, SB 1082. Distinguished senators will recall that the request from Mr. President Commander-in-Chief was read yesterday, Tuesday, 13th December 2022. Mr. President, with your permission, I move that the bill be read a second time.
You may proceed.
Lead debate on the National Information Technology Development Agency Act, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2022, SB 1082. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, permit me to lead debate on a bill for an act to repeal the National Information Technology Development Agency Act. The bill was read for the first time in this chamber on Tuesday, 13th December 2022. The National Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA Act, was enacted into law in 2007 with the primary responsibility of creating a framework for the planning, research, development, standardization, application, coordination, monitoring, evaluation, and the regulation of information technology as contained in the Section 6, subsection A of the NITDA Act 2007. In the first 17 years, NITDA has operated as a government agency for development and regulation of the information technology sector. However, because of recent advancements in information technology and the need to implement National Digital Economy Plan and Strategy, the context for the establishment of NITDA has changed. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, with the recent development, there is the need to update the legal framework for the regulation and development of digital economy for Nigeria. The current act is outdated and it cannot meet the needs of the requirements of supporting digital economy development. In view of this, there is a dire need to review the act to accommodate contemporary issues that would move the country forward. The world over, the use of digital technologies has created novel forms of economic activities that have been beneficial to national economies. However, some of the digital technologies have had a disruptive impact on the existing order and thus the need to manage their adoption to enable economies to maximize the benefits of such technologies. Some global economies have changed, have developed regulatory instruments to harness the potentials of the use of digital devices for digital economy development. India, for example, in 2000, enacted the Information Technology Act 2000, which is the country's primary law for the digital space. The act was amended in 2009 to update it based on current realities. This amendment provided the requisite authority with the powers to make regulations to meet the demands of fast-paced digital economy development. Other countries such as Malaysia, Singapore, and the United States of America have approached the challenge with the enactment of various laws to deal with the different issues that affect the adoption and the use of digital technologies. On 23rd October 2019, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, approved the designation of the Federal Ministry of Communication as the Federal Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy. The primary purpose of the designation was to create a policy organ that would oversee the development of digital economy for Nigeria. The Federal Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy has developed the Digital Economy Policy and Strategy for Nigeria, which focuses on the development of digital aspects of Nigeria's economy. However, there is a need to review the mandate of the agency in line with the current realities of cyber and technology space. The National Digital Economy Policy and Strategy requires a more robust approach to regulations, standard setting, and the guidelines development for the country, with a focus on digital and emerging technologies. And NITDA is best suited to implement this mandate. In view of the NITDA Act 2007 would serve as an enabler for the growth and development of the country's digital economy. Some benefits would include creating a framework to expand the agency's regulatory powers to include emerging technologies and digital economy development. 2, provide the agency with administrative enforcement powers. Reduce the number of governing board members of the agency. Provide for objectives of the agency. Redefine the entities who should contribute to the fund of the agency. Promote startup ecosystem. Promote indigenous products and services through standardization and collaborate with other public and private sector partners to carry out activities that will assist in climate change issues. Also to collaborate to implement cybersecurity measures to build trust in digital economy in Nigeria. Then also to help build the capacity for Nigerians through the Digital Literacy Initiative, entrench to stakeholder participation in developing regulation through the rule-making process, and to promote the safe use of digital technologies, including social media, for national objectives of the country, among other things. The bill, when passed into law, will therefore have the objectives of creating a regulatory framework for the development of Nigerian information technology sector and the digital economy, including promoting and the implementation of policies that support indigenous content, access to digital services, investment in sector, adoption of emerging technology, innovation, research and development, including the rights of citizens and a national interest. With respect to Order 76, Section 3 of the Senate Standing Order 2022 as amended, I want to state that there is no financial implication associated with the repealing of this bill. All in all, I urge my colleagues to support the expeditious passage of this bill. Thank you very much for listening.
Any contributions? Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Okay, Jeff, Bonnet Northwest. Mr. President, I stand to lend my voice to this very important bill. The leader has articulated the issue very well. If there's any area of our national life that needs to be regulated, this is it. Everybody is affected by technology. Even if you are not ICT savvy, you are affected by the activities of technology. And Nigeria is one of the few countries that we don't have the kind of regulation that is needed, in times like this. And so if for 17 years, this agency has been on without any regulation, especially considering that in the past decade or so, we've had full-blown activities of technology, ICT, in this country. The COVID-19 drew forcefully the use of ICT when everybody had to, stay indoors and handle his activities through the ICT. So, if you go to some countries, for instance, like China, I once was in China and I couldn't even access my Facebook. They regulate some of these things because it's not everything that will be dumped there. We call it the international superhighway, but it's not in some countries. So you don't just dump or do business and these 419 activities, they are just hanging there and somebody can, fleece others of their hard-earned money. And then you look at the position of the law. It's not as it should be. So any direction, any step in the direction that the leader has advocated in this bill, I want to associate with it and urge my colleagues to also support the second reading of this bill. Thank you.
Senator Adija Hassan, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, Ibrahim Hassan Adija, Jigawa Northeast. Mr. President, I rise to support this bill. Being a member of the ICT committee, we worked very hard in the last 6 months to see to the emergence of this bill. And you notice it's not just an amendment, it's actually a repeal and reenactment of a new bill. This is because, Mr. President, so much has happened since 2007. The ICT sector is very dynamic. It changes probably every 6 months. So to have an agency that a regulator, you need to create enough flexibility for that regulator to keep up with these changes. And essentially, this bill seeks to do that for NIDA. It gives them the flexibility to make pronouncement. It creates a situation where they can penalize offenses. And then it also tidies up the board itself. It was rather cumbersome. Right now, I think the board has been reduced, and there's some level of professionalism injected in its membership. Again, Mr. President, certain regulatory aspects of the body have been deemed too important to be left within NIDA, so they have also been taken out. For example, the Data Protection Bureau, which was one of the objectives of NIDA, now it's a separate bureau, which was, the law is also in the process of being passed by this House. Now, based on these changes in the process, we felt it was not, we probably have to make like 16, 17 amendments to the NIDA bill. And so we just decided that the best way to approach it is to come up with a brand new law that will take up those changes, and then will prepare NIDA for the future. So based on that, Mr. President, I think this is a bill that we should actively support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Adija. Senator Yusuf.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Yusuf Abubakar Yusuf. I represent Taraba Central, Taraba State. Information is one of the most important indices for even running the economy. And we are all witnessing of what is happening in our social media. So if we do not have the kind of tap on the kind of information that circulate, in the country, we are going to fall into victim of creating more hardship, more attacks on one another in terms of tribal, religious, and what have you. So we need this kind of bill, or this kind of, to make sure that, the information, is properly regulated to go to the direction in which we want it to go. Thirdly, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, just like what my colleague has said, when you go to Saudi Arabia, even if you go to London, there are certain aspects of the social media that you cannot have access to. It's regulated. So we cannot sit down and have, an anarchy in terms of lack of regulating the information that we have in this country. So I actually support this bill 100%, and I urge my colleagues to also support this bill. And I commend, the establishment, of this bill in terms of repealing it and replacing it. So thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you. I think maybe just Senator Barao Jibril, and then I'll put the question.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Barao Jibrin. I represent Kano North in this August Senate. Mr. President, it's a fact that digital technology is what is in vogue in the entire world. Its effect is everywhere in our lives. Therefore, we need to make sure that we leverage on the goodies associated with digital technology and also create laws that will do away with those things that are negatives to do with digital technology. It is therefore necessary that we reshape our law, the NIDA law, in order to make sure that it goes in tandem with what is applicable in other climes where things are going fine in terms of the usage of digital technology. We also know that digital economy is a very important factor in building up modern economies in the entire world. Therefore, there's that need to make sure that we build our digital economy. And this cannot be done without a very sound law. And this is what this bill is really intended, that's the intent of this bill. Therefore, every senator here should support this bill because it's very, very important, so that we can now recreate the law, make sure that it's in tandem with international best practice. I will urge the Senate to pass the law, and when it goes to the committee level, let's hire experts to look at the entire bill and get it reshaped in the best manner possible. Mr. President, to submit.
Opposed to this bill, me raise a second time. So I put the question. Those in favor that this bill be now raised a second time say aye. And those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to repeal the National Information Technology Development Agency Act and for matters connected thereto, 2022, SB 1082, second reading.
A bill for an act to repeal the National Information Technology Development Agency Act and for matters connected thereto, 2022, second reading taken. The bill is referred to the Committee on ICT and Cybersecurity to report back within 2 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the next order of the day originally is not around. Therefore, I think I will step it down. I move to step down the next item on the agenda. I so move.
Another leader here.
I rise to second the motion that the bill by Senator Olujimi that is not available here be stepped down to the next legislative sitting. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. This item is stepped down to the next legislative date. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the first order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Banking, Insurance, and Other Financial Institutions on the confirmation of nomination of Mrs. Aisha Indanusa Ahmed and Edward Lametek Adamu for appointment as deputies Governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN. The single senators will recall that the request from Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief, was referred to the committee on Wednesday, 7th December 2022. The President, you may wish to invite Senator Obasani, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the presentation and consideration of the report.
Senator Obasani.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Let's take them one at a time. One by one. Yes. You may proceed, please, Senator Obasani.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues,
My name is Senator Obasani, representing Corner Central. I rise to move that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Banking, Insurance, and Other Financial Institutions on the confirmation of the nomination of Mrs. Aisha Indanusa Ahmad and Edward Lamitek Adamu for appointments as Deputy Governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN. I so move, Mr. President.
Any seconder for the motion? Senator Ajibola, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Dr. Surajuddin Ajibola Bashiru, Senator representing Osun Central Senatorial District. I stand to second the motion for the Senate to receive the report of the Committee on Banking, Insurance, and Other Financial Institutions on the screening of Mrs. Aisha Ndanusa Ahmad and Mr. Edward Lamitek Adamu as ably moved by the chairman of the Banking and Finance Committee, Senator Obasani. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Ajibola. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Obasani, you may lay the same for the Senate. Thank you. You may go ahead and present now.
Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, the Senate at its sitting on Wednesday, 17 December 2022, considered the request of Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federation, Muhammad Buhari, GCFR, for the confirmation of the appointment of Mrs. Aisha Indanusa Ahmad and Mr. Edward Lamitek Adamu as Deputy Governors of the Central Bank of Nigeria. I refer same to the Committee on Banking, Insurance, and Other Financial Institutions for further legislative actions. Mr. President, with your permission, I would like to go straight to the findings. Thank you, Mr. President. At the end of the screening exercise of the nominees, the committee findings were as follows. 1, that their appointments is in accordance with the provision of Section 82 of the Civil Act 2007. 2, that the nominees possesses the academic qualifications, technical knowledge, and professional experiences to be reappointed Deputy Governors of the Central Bank of Nigeria. 3, that the nominees have served as Deputy Governors of the CBN from 2018 to date. 4, that the committee did not receive any petition against their nominations for the appointment as Deputy Governors of the Central Bank of Nigeria. 5, that the nominees have been cleared by the Nigeria Police Force, Department of State Services, DSS, and possesses the Code of Conduct Acknowledgement Slip. Recommendations. The Committee on Banking, Insurance, and Other Financial Institutions, having screened the nominees and been satisfied with their experiences, suitability, and academic qualifications, hereby recommends that the Senate do confirm the appointment of Mrs. Aisha Indanusa Ahmed and Mr. Edward Lamitek Adamu as Deputy Governors of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Conclusion.
The committee wishes to sincerely express its appreciation to the Senate for the opportunity to serve in this capacity. I so move, Mr. President.
Any comments or contribution? In the absence of that, Committee of the Whole. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate resolve into Committee of the Whole to consider the report. I so move.
Honorable Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to second the motion that Senate resolve in the Committee of Whole, and I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Approval. Those in favor that Mrs. Aisha Undanesu Ahmad be approved as the Deputy Governor of Central Bank of Nigeria. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that Edward Lamitek Adamu as Deputy Governor of Central Bank, CBN. Those in favor that he be approved say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate revert to plenary for the chair to report progress. I so move.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise to second the motion that we revert to plenary for chair to report progress. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate, in the Committee of the Whole, considered the report of the Committee on Banking, Insurance, and Other Financial Institutions on the screening of Mr. President's nominees for appointment as Deputy Governors of CBN, and approved the nominations of Mrs. Aisha Undanasa Ahmad and Mr. Edward Lamitek Adamu as Deputy Governors of Central Bank of Nigeria and CBN. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Confirmation. Will the Senate confirm the nomination of Mrs. Aisha Undanasu Ahmed as the Central Bank of Nigeria and CBN as the Deputy Governor of Central Bank, CBN? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Will the Senate confirm the nomination of Edward Lamita Adamu as Deputy Governor of Central Bank of Nigeria? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Mrs. Aisha Undanasu Ahmed as Deputy Governor of CBN is hereby confirmed. The nomination of Edward Lamitek Adamu as Deputy Governor of CBN is hereby confirmed. Congratulations. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the sixth order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Banking, Insurance, and Other Financial Institutions on the implementation of cashless policy and the new withdrawal limits. Mr. President, we may wish to invite Senator Obasani, Chairman of the committee, to move a motion for the Senate to receive and consider the report. I so move.
Senator Obasani, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, Senator Ubasani representing Kaduna Central. I rise to move that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions on the implementation of cashless policy and the new withdrawal limits. I so move, Mr. President.
Seconder. Senator Degi, please.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Senator Degi Eremi. I represent Bayelsa East Senatorial District. I rise to second the motion ably moved by the Chairman, Senate Committee on Banking and Financial Institution, that the reports be presented. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Obasani, please proceed to lay the report and thereafter present him. Now.
Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I remain Senator Ubasani representing Kaduna Central. The Senate at its sitting on Wednesday, 7 December 2022, mandated the Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions, while screening the Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, should also interact with them on banks' recent cashless policy and the new withdrawal limits. In line with the above mandate, the committee engaged the deputy governors during the screening on the subject matter. Given the reactions these circulars generated in the opening speech of the chairman, clarifications were sought on the rationale for this policy. In particular, the new daily cash withdrawal limit of 20,000. The CBN was asked to provide insight and clarification on this issue to the Senate. It is again this backdrop that the CBN was asked to provide comprehensive information on the following: implementation of the cashless policy since 2012, justifications for some of the bank's recent pronouncements and programmed activities till the January 9, 2023 effective date for the nationwide rollout of the policy. Mr. President, distinguished senators, you may wish to recall the recent pronouncement by the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, in October 2022 on the redesign of some of the denomination of the Naira notes 200, 500, and 1,000, and circular of December 6, 2022 on cash withdrawal limits and nationwide implementation of the cashless policy. Overview of the cashless policy 2012 to 2019. Sections 2D and 47 of the CBN Act 2007, as amended, empowers the CBN to promote a sound and stable financial system and credible, efficient payment system. In pursuance of this mandate, the CBN issued a cashless policy on April 1, 2012. Following in-depth studies and various stakeholder engagements, the policy commenced on a pilot basis in Lagos on April 1st, 2012, with the overall objective of reducing cash intensity in the economy, with attendant huge costs of currency management and risks from cash-based transactions, encourage electronic transactions, and enhance Nigerian payment system. The features of the policy included: 1, limit on free cash transactions on withdrawal and lodgements were prescribed accordingly. A daily transaction limit of 500,000 and 3 million for free cash withdrawals and lodgement was imposed for individuals and corporate customers respectively. 2, processing fees for transactions withdrawal and lodgement above prescribed limit was fixed at 3% and 2% for withdrawal and lodgement by individual, and 5% and 3% for withdrawals and lodgement by corporates respectively. 3, third-party checks above 150,000 were disallowed from being cashed over the counter. 4, exemptions were granted to embassies and diplomatic missions due to international treaties signed with Nigeria. 5, waivers were granted to microfinance banks, ministries, departments, and agencies of federal and state governments for lodgement into revenue accounts. Following the successes recorded during the pilot phase, the policy was extended to 5 other states: Abia, Anambra, Kano, Ogun, and Rivers states, and the Federal Capital Territory in July 2013, with banks customers given 3 months moratorium on the payments of processing fees for cash transaction over the prescribed limits. The processing fee on excess lodgements above the prescribed limits for withdrawal and lodgements was, however, stepped down temporarily in 2014 to allow more citizens to fully embrace alternative electronic payment platforms and ensure further development and expansion of financial access points before imposition of the penalty fees. Plan nationwide.
Point of order, Leader of the Senate.
In accordance with our Order 8, subsection 3, I move that we extend our stay beyond the 2 p.m. I so move.
Honourable Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to second the motion as moved by the leader. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Oba, you may continue.
Thank you, Mr. President. Plan nationwide implementation of the policy earlier stated for April to October 2017 was also temporarily suspended for the same reasons. Since then, the cashless policy has remained in force in 6 states: Lagos, Abia, Anambra, Kano, Ogun, and Rivers, and the Federal Capital Territory. The cashless policy, September 2019 to October 2022. The recognition of significant strides in financial inclusion, expansion of financial access points, proliferation in e-banking, and recent changes in stamp duties collection, the CBN on September 17, 2019 announced implementation of full cashless policy in the Federal Capital Territory and 6 states, Lagos, Abia, Anambra, Ogun, and Rivers, that were currently operating the policy. The bank also approved the reintroduction of charges on excess cash deposits by individuals and corporates above established limits that was temporarily suspended in 2017. In the cashless policy status as below. This is the table, is the individual above 500,000, 3% and 2%, corporate above 3 million, 5% and 3% respectively. The cashless policy, October 2022 to date. Further to the launch of the redesigned Naira notes by Mr. President on Wednesday, November 23, 2022, the CBN on December 5th, 2022 released a circular on new cash withdrawals limit in line with its cashless policy mandate. The CBN approved the following: 1. Reintroduction of charges on excess cash withdrawals by individual and corporates above established limits in cashless policy states. Account type, withdrawal limits, processing fees for withdrawal. Mr. President, with your permission, can I go to the conclusion and recommendations?
No. Please proceed. I want everyone to be fully appraised of the content of this report. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Individual above 100,000 per week, 5%. Corporate above 3 million per week, 10%. Third-party checks over-the-counter withdrawal limits to 50,000. ATM withdrawal 20 per day and 100,000 per week. POS withdrawal 20,000 daily. 2. Enhanced due diligence requirement for cash withdrawals above certain thresholds, 5 million and 10 million for individual and corporate organizations respectively, which will only be allowed under compelling circumstances not exceeding once in a month. 3. Nationwide implementation of cashless policy by January 9, 2023. It is pertinent to note that processing fees are already applied to withdrawals above limits of 500,000 and 3 million for individual and corporate organizations respectively in the federal capital and 6 states. The circular only reduced the limits on cash withdrawals and expanded the scope of its application nationwide effective January 9, 2023 in response to significant evolution of the Nigerian payment system and widespread availability of a plethora of financial touch points and electronic payment options to all Nigerian citizens. Justification for reinstatement of full cashless policy and nationwide implementation. Growth in electronic channels adoption. Most stakeholders have embraced alternative payment channels as shown by the astronomical increase in electronic transaction statistics on various channels, according to NIBSS data. POS transactions increased by 13.041%, which is equivalent to 6.32 trillion, from 48.46 billion in 2012 to 6.80 trillion at end October 2022. Electronic transactions increased significantly by 7.768%, that is 302.2 trillion, from 3.89 trillion in 2012 to 306.09 trillion in the 9 months to end October 2022. Check transaction reduced by 75%, 5.63 trillion from 7.48 trillion in 2012 to 1.85 trillion in October 2022. Expansion of alternative e-payment platforms. SMEs and other businesses have various options and channels available for them for collecting legitimate payments for goods and services, including bank transfers, POS, MPOS, Mcash, mobile money, internet banking, USSD codes, agents, QR codes, e-Naira. These channels are also being adopted across the country, including markets and rural communities. Expansion in financial access points. Financial access points, ATM, POS, agents, and Mcash have also witnessed significant increase since the implementation of the cashless policy. Of note is the licensing of several deposit money banks, conventional and Islamic banks, payments service bank, and microfinance bank with multiplicative impact of the number of ATMs, POS, and agents available across the Federation. The telcos and mobile money operators are also driving the expansion of agents networks across the Federation. The Shared Agents Network Expansion Facilities initiative of the CBN and the Bankers Committee currently has more than 1,400,000 agents nationwide. Improvement in financial inclusion statistics. Financial inclusion has recorded significant improvement in Nigeria. According to IFINA, 64.1% of adult population were financially included as at 2020. Extensive engagements across multiple stakeholders. Cashless policy was first launched in 2012, and several engagements were held across multiple stakeholders. By January 2023, the initiative will be entering its 11th year, and stakeholders will have been adequately enlightened. The initial go-live date for its implementation nationally was 2015. Promotion of an efficient payment system in public interest. It is in the public interest to promote an efficient payment system via the cashless policy, which helps reduce the punitive cost of cash processing, obtained passed on to bank customers. It is instructive to note that the implementation of the cashless policy in 6 states resulted in reduction in the cost of currency management by 15.20%, from 36.97 billion to 31.35 billion between 2013 to 2014. The trend, however, reversed in 2014 following the suspension of cash deposit charges in the 6 states currently handling costs, increasing by 17.20% between 2014 and 2015 following the suspension. The cost of currency management has been on the increase since then. Total cost of currency management for 10 months to end October 2022 was 47.25 billion naira. Compliance with best practice. The policy is in line with the CBN quest to adopt international best practices and international conventions, especially in view of recent reputational damage, with some Nigerians perpetuating advance fee fraud. Statutory responsibility of the central bank. The CBN's mandate and responsibilities under the CBN Act 2007 as amended empowers it to promote a sound, stable financial system and credible, efficient payment system. Section 2D, Section 47 of the CBN Act, and the policies were issued pursuant to this legal provision. These actions are well within this mandate. Clarifying common misconceptions on the CBN cashless policy. There are many misconceptions of the cashless policy which are addressed below. Currency denomination of 5 naira, 10, 20, 50, and 100 remain legal tender. Are unaffected by the naira redesign policy and are available for use across the country, including at markets and rural areas and informal sector of the economy. There are currently no processing fees applied to cash deposits. A limited amount can be deposited without charge to enable seamless and unrestricted deposit of any notes affected by the currency redesign. The processing fee on cashless withdrawal are not new, as these have been in place in Lagos since.
No. The processing fees on cash withdrawals, not cashless. Cash withdrawals, right? Okay.
Sorry, Mr. President, on cash. FCT since July 2013. The charge applies on the excess over the prescribed limit only, not on the entire transaction amount. For instance, withdrawal of 150 by individual, fee is excess over 100,000 limit, that is 50,000 times 5%, which is equal to 2,500 naira. Withdrawal of 600,000 by a corporate, fee is excess over 500 limit, that is 100,000 times 10%, which is equivalent to 10,000 naira. The policy did not prohibit cash transaction above the prescribed limits. Such transactions shall attract the processing fees to serve as incentive for account owners to embrace more efficient electronic payment channels. Cash withdrawal above 5 million and 10 million for individuals and corporate organizations respectively will be subject to enhanced due diligence requirements. The policy applies nationwide in recognition of the plethora of financial touch points that are available in all the states of the Federation. Nationwide implementation is effective January 9, 2023. Framework for the nationwide rollout of cashless policy by January 9, 2023. Whilst acknowledging the significant benefit to the economy from the implementation of the cashless policy, the CBN is also cognizant of the need for engagement with the key stakeholders and comprehensive awareness across the 6 geopolitical zones of the Federation, covering urban, rural, and all local government areas. Accordingly, the nationwide implementation of the cashless policy bill for January 9, 2023 shall be preceded by massive stakeholders engagement that aims to stimulate positive public interest and understanding of the policy and information on e-channels and alternative payment solution for households, SMEs, etc. A comprehensive communication plan has been developed in this respect. Stakeholders to be engaged include drivers of alternative payments, system in communities, markets, industry hub, etc. A geospatial map of available financial access point is also being completed and shall be made public by December 31st, 2022. This is to inform all stakeholders of the locations of physical and electronic financial access points where they can process transactions electronically. The CBN shall continue to monitor the impact of the implementation of the policy on citizens and the economy and may be flexible on the withdrawal limits in response to the feedback received. Conclusion. The committee wishes to draw the attention of the Senate to the significant achievement recorded in the Nigerian payment system since the cashless policy was first introduced in 2012 as follows. 1. Nigeria has been adjourned Africa's undisputed real-time and digital payment leader with over 3.7 billion real-time transactions in 2021. 2. This translates to a ranking of 6 in terms of the world's most developed real-time payments behind only India, China, Thailand, Brazil, and South Korea. 3. Uptake of digital and real-time payments also helped Nigeria unlock $3.2 billion of additional economic output in 2021, representing about 0.67% of the country's GDP. The central bank latest action on Naira redesign and nationwide implementation of cashless policy are intended to further sustain this achievement in the quest to foster a safe, credible, and efficient payment system that is the pride of all Nigerians and the envy of the world. It is neither targeted at any segment of the society nor intended to disenfranchise hardworking Nigerian citizens and businesses as insinuated in some parts. Recommendations. Based on the interaction of the committee with the nominees, the committee hereby recommends as follows. 1, that the Central Bank of Nigeria should considerably adjust the withdrawal limits in response to public outcry on the policy. 2, that the committee should continue to embark on aggressive oversight of the CBN on its commitment to flexible adjustment of the withdrawal limit and periodically report outcome to the Senate. 3, that the Senate should support the bank in the continuous implementation of transformational payments and financial industry initiatives in line with its mandate in accordance with the CBN Act. I so move, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Dr. Surajuddin Ajibola Bashiru. I represent Osun Central Senatorial District. I have had the benefit of following through the report just presented by the chairman, Senate Committee on Banking, Insurance, and Other Financial Institutions. I say that based on the feedback I get from my constituents upon the rollout of the new CBN guideline, I have certain comments to make representative of what I gather from my constituents, who are basically small traders, rural dwellers, and the people who may be negatively impacted by the cashless policy. While it is true, as has been justified by the report being presented, that it is good to have digital platforms and that Nigeria has made progress in that, I think it's better to speak to facts. Now, let us look at the threshold on page 5 of the report.
Senator Ajibola, just 1 second. Frankly, when I recognized you, I had not seen so many hands up. But from what I've seen right now, it does appear almost everyone to speak. Therefore, we need to restrict our colleagues to the number of minutes they could speak, if you don't mind. I'm going to do this 2 minutes per senator. And I will have the Chief Whip moderate. Thank you very much. Senator Ajibola, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. The threshold that has been set with respect is totally unrealistic to have any robust and meaningful life for our people. Above 100,000 per week, you pay processing fee of 5%. The question is looking at the inflation trend in our country and the average cost of living of survivor of every family in Nigeria, 100,000 per week, then POS withdrawal 20,000 daily is terribly the threshold is going to impact. I'm not oblivious of the fact that the committee had made recommendation on adjustment, but this is not enough. As a committee of the Senate, they ought to also have interacted with certain indices to come up with a recommendation on what should be the adjustment. The recommendation 1 says that Nigerians,
Senator Ajibola, are you suggesting that the committee should have been specific with amounts? Won't that be abridging the independence of the bank in line with the provision of Section 2 and what section is that? That gives them this power to do this? Don't you think that would be an abridgment on those powers? And I'm asking this in line, in view of the recommendation already made, without any specificity, but you're asking for specificity. Is that correct? Yes.
President, that you remember, if the logical extension
of the contention of Mr. President now is that we don't even have any business talking about the threshold if you cannot make suggestions and specific recommendations. And the law that we have mentioned is made by this Allo chamber. We can as well amend the law.
But we have not amended it yet. Are you bringing an amendment now?
So I'm suggesting that the threshold should be 500,000 naira, not 100,000. And for withdrawal per daily should be 100,000. And I say this, that this will be in line with what is realistic for our society. Law is made for man and to be able to ensure that there is welfare of our people. We cannot allow rigidity to affect the welfare and the running of people in our society. So I will say that it is very important in engaging with the CBN. We cannot just say considerably adjust the withdrawal limit. That doesn't say anything. It's rather vague, nebulous, and add nothing to the aspirations of the Nigerian people who have elected us to be in this Allo chamber. Thank you, Mr. President.
I will take Senator Alero.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Mohammed Adam Alero is my name. I represent the good people of Kebbi Central. Mr. President, I listened attentively to the report presented by the chairman on banking. Mr. President, this report gives us an ideal picture of what the economy should be. But in reality, what is happening is different. The informal sector of the economy in Nigeria is very big and it's not captured in the banking system. Most people, particularly the ones that are living in rural areas, don't go to the bank. They keep their money under the pillow. And there is need for sensitization. There is need for enlightenment in order to make this kind of people to embrace the banking culture. Mr. President, we have 774 local governments in this country. I can assure you that only about 60% of this local government are covered by the bank. They have their branches in more than maybe 60% of the 774 local governments. The remaining ones, they don't have banks. So it is difficult to really force these people to embrace banking culture. And if you do so, believe me, it is going to be with hardship. And we are sitting here in the House Chamber to make laws for the good governance of this country, for the welfare and well-being of our people. And anything that will bring difficulty, we should try to simplify it. We should try to solve it for them. So I support the idea of e-banking. I support the idea of cashless policy, but we should do it with caution. It is good that in the report, in the recommendation, it has been stated that the Central Bank of Nigeria should considerably adjust the withdrawal limits in response to the public outcry. Mr. President, the public outcry is too much. If you read newspapers and what is contained in the social media, believe me, people are very much against this policy. But we know it is good for the economy. We know with time, if we give it about 2 to 3 years, it will be embraced and it will be good for the running of this country. Corruption will reduce, armed robbery, people that break houses, the bandits that are demanding for ransom will considerably be reduced, but it is not. I have the floor. Let me want.
You are protected. One more minute, Senator Alero. Senator Alero, special consideration, 1 more minute.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. So what I'm saying is that Nigerian economy is still a rural economy. And what we are trying to do now is equating it with the economy in Europe and even some countries that are newly industrialized, like Korea, Brazil, and what has been mentioned in this report. So we should be very cautious in implementing this policy. There should be flexibility in doing it. Thank you, Mr. President.
We should remind our colleagues, based on this report I just presented, that this policy was actually commenced in 2012. 2012, and we are in 2022. That's about 10 years ago. I say this in light of, excuse me? I understand that. That was meant to put everybody on notice. And that is pilot, and at some point, it will go around the entire country. I just thought I should point that out, you know. Yes. Senator Yusuf.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I am Yusuf Abubakar Yusuf. I represent Taraba Central. With being modest, I've been an investment banker for over 15 years. And yes, and when we are talking about this cashless or not cashless, we should be mindful of the fact that what happened with 3 point something, 3.2 or 3.3 trillion naira money in circulation, and it's only 1 point something trillion naira in the banking system. The danger is detrimental to the economy and the security of this country. So we must support this cashless. How much money is it in the rural areas? 80%, you know, of the money is in the urban area. So all what we are saying that the issue is matter of security, is matter of technology, is matter of, you know, these communication gadgets. So it is not just financial. We are looking at it purely financial. It's beyond that, sir. Because left to me, today I would recommend the highest denomination to be 100 naira. The highest. And that's the only way we can even de-dollarize the Nigerian economy. We are killing ourselves by accumulating dollars in our houses, you know, and then killing the naira. The more you kill the naira, the more
6 years ago, and I spoke with the stakeholders and owners of UBA. They refused to reopen that branch. So how can I encourage them? So the banks we are underbanked, and they don't want to open rural branches because they are only after profits. So if the central bank try to tax and milk my local population, they will revolt. And it's not good for the governance. It's not good for the polity. So, and the recommendation this committee has done.
Before you go to the recommendation, let me just ask you this. As I understand it, the policy as presented excludes the lower denominations of 5 naira, 10 naira, 50 naira, and 100 naira. No, I'm coming. Just let me finish, sir. Let me finish. I want to be sure that you are aware of this. And in most of those rural communities, the farms and so on, these denominations are still available. Okay.
I will ask.
Senator Bukachua, I will protect you. This means so much to you. I can see clearly. I will grant you 1 additional minute to make your contributions.
Committee is trying to pull wool over the eyes of the Nigerians. What they just said that they recommend to the central bank. We haven't had central bank recommendation, and I mean replies, and they will, knowing central bank that I have dealt with through other committees, they will just keep quiet and continue and go ahead. And what will the committee say to us? So this recommendation doesn't make any sense to the Nigerian people and to me as a senator. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Our Chief Whip first, the leadership, if you don't mind. The Chief Whip of Senate. As the Chief Whip, as the Chief Whip, 3 minutes as the Chief Whip. No, 3 minutes as the Chief Whip.
Thank you, Mr. President. In supporting this CBN policy, in our state, we have done this for 10 years. I will only go for the recommendation. Central banks should reconsider their decision and put us back the same amount they had in Abia, Lagos, Kano. They should do 500,000 per day for individual, and they will do 3 million per day for corporate. That will cover any fear of anybody. We have done this in our state for over 10 years with all the amount of industries we are running in Aba. We have done 3 million per day. So I don't see why they should come to 100,000 a week. It's like crying. Go back to 500,000 a day, 3 million to corporate, and 500,000 a day for individual. And nobody will complain. Senator Bukachua will not complain for his farmers. We have people in sugarcane farm that are paid every day. But Senator Alero will not cry in his rice farm. I know these people are crying because we have to pay workers daily. There are some daily workers that you have to pay money daily. So my colleagues, let's not I'm a vice chairman of this committee. And to me, it makes a lot of meaning that we protect Nigerian people than protecting ourselves.
And did you sign the report?
I signed the report, yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
No, I signed the report.
Chief Whip, I only recognized you because you are the Chief Whip. As a member of the committee who signed this report, I frankly should not be recognizing you. But go ahead, all the same.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm not saying, what I'm saying is that 100,000 a week is too small. For is that 3 million a week for a corporate? It's too small. Make it daily. We have done this in 10 years in our state.
That.
And when it was minority opinion, no, I'm coming. I didn't want to rock the boat because...
You cannot come here and fight your committee, Chief Whip. It's not right. Don't throw your committee under the bus. It's not right.
What is visible for people to do their business? Thank you very much. Leader of the Senate wants to talk.
Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President.
I will come. I'll make it fair, please. You know, but he's the leader of the Senate.
There is something that is fundamental here that people should understand from the report of the chairman. The chairman did not say this is their recommendation in terms of money, but that is what the CBN stated. No. No, it's not the committee. It's not the committee. Yeah. No way. So this is exactly what the CBN says. That's what the CBN gave. But if you want a recommendation, then now you can advise the chairman. And the chairman, when he goes back, he can discuss with the CBN on what we want to do. For example now, no, wait, let's understand. No, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Leader of the Senate, please address the chair, please.
We can be less. But of course, the prerogative of doing this is with the CBN, because according to their act, they have to do this. But what we can do is only to advise the chairman to go back and tell them this is what they will do, and then they will do that if they want to.
And that's expressly provided in the second recommendation. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's working now. Thank you very much, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Biodun Olujimi. Mr. President, I represent Ekiti South. And Mr. President, as you will remember, when this issue came out, not one person had a dissenting voice. Everyone that spoke on that day agreed with what the CBN was about to do. However, we were also skeptical of certain issues contained in the proposals. Number one, the details were not clear to any of us. And that is because in the system, people take each other for granted. If there had been consultation, wide consultation, we wouldn't be where we are today. People would have gotten to know what is required of them and what is required of the CBN. And this speaks to what we are all going through. There has to be consultation on major issues such as this. In the report, there is a clause that says massive consultation will be held between now and the 9th of January. Mr. President, that's only 2 weeks. And there is this festive period in between. How can you have a massive consultation in those 2 weeks? The timing is wrong. Again, Mr. President, the CBN approved POS operators and registered them and took monies from them, no matter how little. And now, those people can only do so little. It took so many people off the roads. It took all our unemployed graduates off the streets. Now, they're going to be thrown back with this policy if an amendment is not done. Mr. President, there's a big elephant in the room. Why is this happening during an election period? Why is it that it is coming now when we have an election, just a little over a month ahead? There is a need to be flexible in what we are doing now, so that this thing...
Do you want that flexibility because of the elections? Is it because of the elections you're making this plea, or because you believe that Nigerians are suffering? Which is it?
How will the people in that bank be able to manage? And beyond it all, the election, how will we be able to control the logistics of taking people around, paying for transportation during the campaigns and the elections? There is something that is happening. We're just hoping.
Senator Olujimi, if I may add, I don't know more than you know. But from what we have seen and what we have read and what is contained in this report, this is an equal opportunity policy. It is not a policy that is targeted against one group against another or one party against another. It's equal opportunity. It affects everyone in equal measure, the last I checked. And then finally, before you sit down, let me just point this out. Whatever we do, let us not lose sight of this section 2D and 47 of the CBN Act. We made this law. It's an act of the National Assembly. If we wanted to give the National Assembly members the power to compel the CBN to sit down with us before monetary policies are decided, I'm sure we would have so provided. But as it is right now, we gave them the full independence, +1 to these two sections of the CBN Act, to do just this. So we must not lose sight of that. And in any event, for purpose of consultation, they've already come out in the report. That we have our committee on banking here. In the second recommendation, we're going to empower them to continue to interact and consult with the CBN management. And in the first recommendation, even though we're yet to get there, they've already recommended flexibility. The only, and I think I can accept that. I mean, I'm comfortable with that. I'm sorry, yes, I'm comfortable with that. The only thing I'm not comfortable with is the idea of we fixing an amount. We don't have those powers, with all due respect. It is something that, excuse me, it is something that our committee headed by Obasani can work out with the CBN management. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Hassan.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Ibrahim Hassan Hadeja, Jigawa, Northeast. Mr. President, the previous comments have touched on some of the things that I wanted to talk about. But I just want to say that my main concern is really the reason the CBN is giving for this, the demonetization policy and then the push towards the cashless policy. The CBN said it's meant to do three things. Fight inflation, fight corruption, and then introduce a cashless policy. But, Mr. President, if you look at the statistics from CBN themselves, when Senator Yusuf says that it's dangerous to have 3-point-something trillion cash in the economy, I want us to understand that not all 3 trillion is actually cash outside the banking system. I think what's outside the banking system is actually about 2.3 trillion. And with what the CBN is telling us in the last week that they have mopped up 1 trillion, it means only about 1.2 trillion is left. Mr. President, there's about 50 trillion money in circulation, out of which narrow money is about 22 trillion. This was created by the CBN themselves. In the last 7 years, federal government has borrowed almost 22 trillion from the Central Bank of Nigeria, 7,000% increase. And, if you have a situation where you say you need to reflate the economy because you want to fight the effects of COVID, want to fight the effects of the Ukrainian war, globally, everybody that took that step knew that it was going to cause inflation. We are not alone. Inflation in Nigeria is 20%. We are among the best in terms of inflation on the African continent. Ghana is 50%. The two super economies in the continent, Ethiopia, Rwanda, they're all above 30-something percent. Britain today has an inflation rate of 11%, coming from an average of 2%. That's an increase of about 450%. For us to get to where Britain is today, we have to get to about a 60% inflation rate. Nobody is fighting cash in that respect. My fear is that the fixation on cash is really, having a negative impact on the rural economy. Because we're talking about cash in circulation. If you look at whether it's only about 2 or 3%. If we continue to attack 2 to 3% of the money that is available out there, how do we affect inflation? If what they are saying is true, Mr. President, by end of this month, with what they have mopped up, we should see at least a 7 percentage point in inflation rate. If it doesn't happen, then we should take out inflation as one of the reasons that we are introducing this cashless policy. Secondly, Mr. President, if for 12 or for 10 years we have introduced a cashless policy and we still have so much money outside in circulation, and then we are touting our position in the digital transfer world and whatever. It means that the two can coexist hand in hand. Yes, we have been successful. We have moved so much transactions onto it, and yet these people are still, you can't force people out of what they are used to. And when the report says that, you know, it has been incentivized, there's no incentive. Every time the CBN comes out to address this question, it's always being punitive. We are putting penalty on this. You cannot force people to do that. Nobody forced Nigerians to embrace the mobile phone culture. But now almost everybody has a mobile phone. And in the same vein, Mr. President, if we try to force people to do something that they are not used to, it just creates a black market. It creates an economy. Right now, I have a letter from POS operators. There are 1.4 million POS operators in Nigeria and counting. They are making a living out of providing cash, out of filling in the gap that banks have failed to do in the last 15 years. Because CBN has failed to meet its financial inclusion target. Now, in one fell swoop, we're taking them out of business. 1.4 million people. Between the police, the immigration, civil defense, we have barely managed to create 30,000 jobs in the last 7 years. For us to now say these 1.4 million people that are earning a daily living do not matter, I think is very, very dangerous. It's probably more dangerous than whatever it is that we're trying to address, Mr. President. So please, I think we should exercise caution.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, even you're a leader, you know, I still have to appeal to you because, you know, once you hold the microphone, you know, yours is 2.5 minutes and 2.5 minutes only. Chief Whip, please monitor. No, he's the Chief Whip. That's why I gave him 3. And I'm giving you 2.5, half over and above our colleagues.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. You see, when we debated this issue on the first time, on this the policies of CBN, I spoke here in total support of the independence of the CBN. Yes, I'm coming, Mr. President.
Has that changed? Has the law
to say that we support the law we make. We have to stand by them. But if there are issues, new issues that are cropping up in our society, it is the duty of the legislature to make suggestions. Because, you see, each time you make law, you don't make law that solves all problems. That's why we're doing amendments. We make the laws at that particular time, it suits the time. But when things change, you also change.
This is not an amendment. This is not an amendment.
No, this is not an amendment.
Aha.
Making suggestions. You say the policy we have given the CBN power to do, yes, very perfectly, because it's going to solve problems as already. But in solving these problems now, if we follow it the way it is, strictly sensu, it means we are going to create another problem. One is unemployment. There are people who are already making a living out of this, the POS operation. The informal economy, part of informal economy. What are you going to do with them? We know the problems we already have here as a government that we cannot create the jobs we need. We can't create the jobs. So if we can't create the jobs, we will not take the jobs already that are existing. That's what we are saying. I'm also suggesting here that, you see, we have Isusu. Isusu, this is a financial daily contributory services that are done in the rural areas. What are you going to do with those people who are doing that? You know, and these people, if they're going for a market, on a market day, they go to the people who they collect this money for them for safekeep. And go and do
safekeep where?
Those people, they go to the banks.
Aha.
Those people collect this money.
We want them to go to the banks. Aha.
Suggestion, Mr. President, is that the committee we have put in place here, we will go back and talk with the CBN to relax this measure in terms of coming down the 150, 20,000 per day for all these people that help the informal economy of this country is not sustainable. If we do that, and I know, and in the report he has said here, he said they are going to consider, flexibility. That flexibility is what we want our friend and brother Obasani to go back and ensure that flexibility is introduced. With this thing, with the information they're getting from us here, both here in the House of Reps, is enough, because we are representatives of the people, that they retouch this in so that we will have the face, human face in this implementation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. When we get the recommendations, and if we do pass the second recommendation, Obasani, you are listening. That will be your job if we do approve the second recommendation in line with suggestions. I'll take Senator Degi, and then I'll take Senator Fadausi. So Degi, please.
Thank you.
Your leader took your slot, so I'm coming back.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Bio Barakuma Degi Eremia is my name. I represent Bayelsa East Senatorial District. Mr. President, I am not a member of this committee, but when the chairman was presenting the report, I listened very attentively and also read along. First, I'd like to commend the committee for a very extensive, detailed report that they have presented. I think that for me, there are some aspects that have been exposed concerning the gains we have made so far in the implementation of this policy. I am aware, and I know we are all aware, that this policy had been in force for some time, as indicated in the report. But implementation had been gradual, and we have to call a spade a spade. Nigeria is part of the global financial system, and we must also make progress. From the report, we have been told that Nigeria is a leader in real-time payments. That fact is undisputed, and we must be making progress. I agree completely that we lack adequate critical infrastructure to support the cashless banking policy, but we must continue in the implementation of this policy because of the gains that we all know. Even though there are challenges, it is true that there are challenges, but we have to make progress because this is the only way to go. And it is the global practice that is in force. Nigeria cannot do it differently. We must start from somewhere. At this point we are now, we have to progress from this point. Fortunately, the committee has also recommended that CBN must, as a matter of fact, is here, recommendation 1 is supporting considerable adjustment in the withdrawal limit. That is, the threshold should be adjusted in line with public outcry. So I think we are good to go. We are good to go. CBN is not existing in the air. CBN will always respond to the yearnings and aspirations of the people of Nigeria. So let us adopt this position of the committee. And after all, we all know that but initially because of skepticism, and apprehensions, fear that you may be defrauded and all that, we're running away from it. But today, virtually everybody is enjoying it. So let us...
I'm sure even Senator Bukachua is doing internet banking. You are not? Let me gender sensitive here. Let me take Senator Stella Odua. We have to be gender sensitive. Let's take Senator. Yes. Are you a female? You are not. I know you are not. So I'll take Senator Odua, then I'll take you.
Mr. President, thank you very much. Dear colleagues, My name is Senator Stella Adeze Odua, and I represent Anambra North. Mr. President, thank you for the privilege. Dear colleagues, I don't think that anybody objects to the fact that cashless society is what we need. First of all, we need the security that it provides us. But Mr. President, I am concerned. My concern comes as a result of us being punitive when policies such as this is being put in place. And why is it punitive? It's punitive because of the conditionalities that they attach to them. Mr. President, we must promote progress. We must encourage prosperity. The reason why we must do that is that we must ensure that our society progresses. We must also ensure that those who make efforts to earn additional living and help others who are unable to help themselves should be encouraged. That is how society progresses. Now, when you look at the conditions that CBN has put in their policy, to me it appears very punitive. How the money comes about, how the money is to be taken, and limitation on what people should do with their hard-earned money. I think even in the global best practice, it does not exist. We must find a way to remove that so we do not deter people from progressing. Having said that, Mr. President, quickly, our rural bankers cannot survive this policy somersault. Why? Because the basic infrastructure in our rural area does not exist. Most places you cannot have access to internet. However, because of the progress and the organic way that internet mobile phone has grown, it grew because people found it necessary. It was comfortable, it enhanced their way of life, and so people embraced it. The same will happen to cashless policy e-banking, when over time, organically, people will embrace this. But forcing people to do that will just create a situation where our homes, particularly rural dwellers and elders, their pillow cases will become their banks. They will not have need.
We are trying to discourage that. That's what this policy is targeting at. Discouraging people using their pillows as piggy banks.
Mr. President, if you do not give them the enabling environment, if you do not give them the enabling infrastructure, if you do not give them enough time, if you do not sensitize them for them to understand how that benefits them, they cannot change it. We need to, as much as cashless policy is a good one, it's a good policy without adequate preparation and at the wrong time. And I think we need to address this. Finally, Mr. President, I want to say also that the same law that we made, Section 8 and Clause 4, says that CBN should extensively consult with National Assembly on changes in the policy or new policy. And I think that's a very sensible thing to do, because our policies, we must think it through. We must analyze it. We must consult with our constituents before it comes to be. Waking up in the morning and announcing to us why policies such as this should be implemented within a time frame of 3 months, 2 months, I think is unfair and shouldn't be. Draconic policies should not have a place in our lives, Mr. President. I so submit. Thank you very much.
Senator Lee McKenna.
Mr. President, thank you very much. My name is Senator Francis Ali McKenna, representing the good people of Edo North. Mr. President, it is my opinion that we should give this policy a chance to thrive. there is no policy that is 100% free from hiccups. Now, when we continue to say that the rural area will be catered for and all this type of thing, there is no, we can never implement any good policy. I'm beginning to feel that some of the people are saying that the POS, the CBN Act did not forbid the POS, that POS will not operate. But when we are now giving the impression that the policy is killing the POS, which means that we are saying opposite of what the CBN Act is saying. They always said they would reduce the amount they will give out. If, for instance, 100 people come to POS every day and they collect 200, it's not okay. Instead of collecting 200 every day, you can collect 100 naira. It doesn't mean that it's killing the POS. And the act of the this bill did not say that the policy is sacrosanct, that they are not going to change. Let us give it a chance, according to the CBN, something that if it works well, then it will continue. Then we can now say we digitalize Nigeria. If it doesn't work well, then we can have an amendment. But when we are now trying to say, we know this policy should not work, when we have not even tried it, it's not the best thing for the country. Let us try this in and see. Even when they came with this internet back thing the other time, many people kick against it. Now we are here. There was what said time they raised the act of the CBN here. Most of us killed the act. Now the CBN is acting according to the act that we approve for it. Why can't we not give the policy a chance to survive? Let us try for some months and see what it is. We cannot even know. It's possible those of them who were keeping money in their briefcase, we bring it out. So for me, Mr. President, let us give this policy a chance to thrive as Homo.
Thank you, Senator Limekana. You're a very good man. Senator, further housing, please. Then thereafter, I will take Senator back here, and then I will. Senator, further housing. Thereafter, Senator back here.
We are still talking. Thank you, Mr. President, for favoring women before man. And
still, I think I need protection there. Oh, okay, good. You heard that, right?
Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, all of us here, including the House of Rep, we all come from rural areas. Both the officials of the central bank and the president, all from rural dwellings, from rural origins. And we know what it means there. And not that we are sitting down under the comfort of AC, air con here and there. We forget that we have problems at home. You know what we are suffering when you are campaigning now. And I know what I'm suffering. We are still going back to the origin. A policy like this was introduced in 1984, changing of currency. 84, 85, I was in Oron Station. I knew what your people suffered on water when the security agents were robbing them of their money they are bringing from fees to put in the bank and change the currency. This is going to happen to our people too, because the educational period is not given to them. We are their representatives. We will have gone to meet them. We are not in the military regime. Our people need a lot of time and education to be giving them in the rural areas so that they are not going to have problems. It is me and you that will suffer it when we get back finally and when they are having financial difficulties. In the rural areas, particularly the local government, out of the 774, hardly can you see half of them having a bank in their headquarters. Most of the banks have liquidated and they have gone. What is replacing them now is POS from rural dwellings. Automatically, if rural areas, if POS is allowed to be free with the money and be sent to the bank, the way they do it, our people will not have a problem. If you are targeting this policy at some elite societies, it is the rural dwellings that we have problem because the elite society know how to circumvent laws.
About withdrawals or about deposit?
Mr. President, the policy may be good, but the timing is wrong. And the period given for education is wrong. We are not in military regime. You have to consult. And the massive consultation was not done. You cannot impose law, particularly financial law, into the rural society and it will not work. Most of all these people that are saying they want it today, they want it tomorrow, most of their people are carrying cars up and down in the bush and on the road. We need to educate them that it's dangerous to do it, and they will comply. It is not the law from Abuja or Lagos that can change them. Then, with all due respect, sir, the POS that was given 20,000 per day, private 100, not 150 again. Corporate affairs 500,000. Are we in the primary school? Are we students that you are free to deposit your money anyhow without any hindrance? You can deposit trillions into the banks. And when you want to withdraw, somebody will say you cannot take 100 million out of the 1 billion you have deposited. No query. When you now want to withdraw, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do? It's not normal in any free economy. Even in America, it's not done. You can be queried, you will explain.
How much cash can you withdraw in America?
We are in America. I've never been to America. So, as much as you like, as much you can, in as much as you don't finance crime and fraud. $200,000. How much is it in Nigeria here? That's in millions. Automatically, we should look at our society before we start draconian law. Even the CBN governor is from a bush there. I'm from a bush. All of us should go back to the bush, bring all the public opinion. Then we can, at most, our law. It is the public opinion that most our law that the people will respect. So, my dear President, let us take it easy with our people. The law may be targeted at this and that. We don't mind, but our people will not suffer too much. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I am Senator Engineer Kabir Abdullahi Barkia, representing Katsina Central Zone. Mr. President, of course, many of our colleagues have said many things. But one thing I want to emphasize, that you should know that, yes, that's why maybe Europe and America call us developing countries, not developed. So we should have in mind that we are not yet there. We have to take time. For example, Mr. President, I have to give an example of myself. In my proper village, if I go back there, I don't have bank. Of course, not my local government headquarters, my village. And these POS people, I knew many of them there. If maybe, for example, one of my constituents said, okay, his wife is sick, I said, please go to Mr. AOB, who operates POS, and collect maybe 20,000 and take your wife to hospital. So if you say, okay, he's only entitled of that 20,000 per day, and if I have like 10, 20 of such sick people, what I am going to do, Mr. President? So we have to look at this one, and at least 70% of the population in the country are rural people. So unless if you want to kill all of them, and say, okay, and then at least if they are not, that's why we're having bandits now. Of course, we have them in particularly this 3 or 4 states in the Northwest. So, but if, for example, now, so, okay, we stop it completely, then what are we going to do? How can we help those people? So please, Mr. President, all what I'm saying, we should look at it, take time, not just abruptly and say, okay, this is what we want to be done. So at least we should think of our people who are in the rural area so they will not suffer. So I think this is all what I want to emphasize. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bakia. We'll go to recommendations. Yes, please. We don't have time now, please. I think it has been extensively debated. But let me just, before we go to the recommendation, let me just say this, Senator Bakia. We also want to protect our people in the rural areas from being attacked, by bandits, being attacked by armed robbers who believe that there's a piggy bank in their homes. I think the moment it becomes clear to everyone that we've gone cashless, full-blown, and there's no money being hoarded in anybody's house, I think there will be reductions in armed robbery and banditry attacks as well. Having said that, let's go straight to the recommendations. Recommendation 1, that the Central Bank of Nigeria should considerably adjust the withdrawal limits in response to public outcry on the policy. Those in favor of the recommendation say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Recommendation 2, that the committee, that's the Committee on Banking, should continue to embark on aggressive oversight of the bank on its commitment to flexible adjustment of the withdrawal limit and periodically report outcome to the Senate. Those in favor of this recommendation say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Recommendation 3, that the Senate should support the bank in the continuous implementation of the transformational payments and financial industry initiatives in line with its mandate in accordance with CBN Act. Those in favor of this recommendation say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, in line with Order 1, subsection B.
Okay. We're already done now. Huh? You can come a way of motion tomorrow. I mean, on Tuesday. Please, Leader of the Senate.
Allows the Senate to regulate itself. I would like to move that the first order of the day, that means we consider her on gender bill. No, did we do that? Huh? No, I just want to do my job. Huh? So we are joined? Okay, then you can go ahead. No need. Huh? Yeah. The only thing is that I move to stand down everything from the paper. Yes, every item on the agenda. Seconded. Huh? The only thing is that
Sir, you people refuse to allow me to talk.
no,
No, there is something behind.